Hey everybody, it's Ziz here, and we're going to take a look in-game at the champion system, how it all works and all the super cool stuff you get from it. Let's jump right in. Alright, so we are in-game here. This is a VR14 Dragon Knight that I made on the test server. And the first thing we're going to talk about is how the champion system works, how you get points and how you use them. And then after that, we're going to look at all the different things that you can spend champion points on, and then some of the super cool stuff that's in there. So first, how do you get points? Well, you have to be on a max level character, level 50 plus, and as you do stuff that gets you experience, you're going to fill up this champion bar. So that's while you're doing questing or dungeons or PvP, anything that gets you experience is going to go and help you get more experience for the champion point system. Now, this experience bar is shared across all of your characters. So let's say, for example, in this guy, I got half a bar of champion experience. I hop on another level 50 character, it's going to contribute towards the same pool of experience for the same champion points, because everybody on your account, all of your characters, have the same amount of champion points. So for example, in this guy I have 83 points, champion points. So that means every character on my account has 83 champion points. Now, they can use them all differently, so they don't share them where everybody has the same stuff. They get to use those points however they want, but as you gain experience and you get more points, everybody on your account gets extra points. Now, you can only get experience on a max level character. If you're on a low level character, the experience you get is still going to just give you experience to level up your character level 50. So you're not gaining any champion experience there. However, there is something called enlightenment. And that means when you're not gaining experience towards the champion system, it's giving you what's called like rested experience, like you'd see in any other MMO. And this bar here will start to kind of glow. So if you're on a lower level character, if you are, let's say you're just standing around, you're talking in chat, you're waiting for a dungeon, whatever you're doing, if you're not gaining champion experience, it's helping you gain enlightenment. So basically, you're getting experience all the time, which is pretty cool, because then you don't feel bad. Like if you're playing a different character or you're playing a lower level character, it's all going towards helping progress all of your characters, which is really, really cool. Because some people, maybe they want to play their Dragon Knight out in PvP, but they want to play their Templar Healer in PvE, and so this way you're not hurting your PvE character, like maybe you're with your guild while you're out playing another character. So that's really, really cool. We really like that. Now, after you get the champion points, boom, you can spend them here in this champion points. It looks like Skyrim, all the constellations, boom, see? Looks really cool. You can zoom around. We're going to go over all these and how they work. First, I just want to explain the points that you get. Boom, let me clear all my points. The points that you get go clockwise, all right? So, for example, if we go back here real quick, see this little icon, a little blue thing? All the experience I get here, once I fill this up and I get a point, it's going to go towards giving me the Mage constellations. Alright, so that point I get, I'm going to have to spend over here in one of these three areas. After that, the next point that I gain is going to be usable over here, and then over here, and it keeps going round and round and round. So all the points you get, let's say you get 50 points. You can't spend all 50 points just over here. You got to continually go around so it's even. Now the red ones, they give you health and they help you defensively. The green give you stamina and they're sort of utility things. And the blue gives you magicka and offensive capabilities. Now even though it's magicka, you can still use that for like melee builds, because they're going to give you melee damage or spell damage. There's different options here. Same thing red, even though it's health, that doesn't mean a DPS wouldn't need anything over here. There's still things they can use here, or a healer could use up here in stamina. So you're going to use all of them, but for every character there's still stuff you want, which is really good. Now, when you spend points over here in the red ones, it gives you health, stamina, and then magicka in the green and the blue, and that's going to increase your basic points. Okay, so just like you were putting points here in health, mana, stamina, same thing happens as you put points in here. Alright, now let's take a look at all the different options that are available, the passives, and give you an overview of what kind of stuff you can expect to see with these points that you're gaining. Starting on the left hand side over in the steed, it says under the warrior's influence, the steed boosts your health and shields you from damage. Now these bottom four options here are ones that you get to put points into, and every point you put in has diminishing returns. So for example, the first point gives you 1% more, and then a 0.5%, and then less and less. So it kind of tapers off. So the first points you put in are really good, and then it kind of tapers down. The percentages are the same for everything. No matter what you put your points into, or what constellation, the first point is always 1%, the second point is like 0.5%, and there's a tiny bit of variance. But in general, it's all basically 1%, then a 0.5%, and it goes down. There's none of them that give like 5% or 10%, you know, on the first point. They're all basically the same. Now, in the steed here, this gives you more medium armor. This gives you more spell resistance. You take less damage from crits, and then also reduces the cost of blocking, or what all these sorts of passives do. Now, in every tree, once you put in a certain amount of points, doesn't matter where you put them, you can spread them out. But once you get to 10 points, you unlock a passive ability. You get automatically. You don't have to spend any points for this. For the steed, the first one gives you a 20% chance to restore health when you bash an enemy. And that health is based on a percentage of how much health you have. And again, like I said, it doesn't matter where you put the points. As long as you have 10 points. So you have 9 here and 1 here, or I have 10 here, or maybe you have, you know, 6 and 4. As long as you get to 10, you're going to get this. After that, 30 points for this passive, which after you block an attack, it increases your dodge chance for 3 seconds. So you block, and then you get some dodge. Shield Expert is at 75 points. So you need 75 points down here. And then this unlocks, it increases your armor and spell resistance that you get from your shield by 75%. And lastly is Reinforced. When you're blocking, you gain a damage shield every 20 seconds. Now this damage shield is really low. It says it's 179. This character has like 17,000 health, so hopefully their numbers are going to be changed, because this should be really good. As you can see, the last passive ability you get in every tree costs 120 points. You have to put 120 points just in this one constellation to unlock that, so it should be really, really great. It's not right now, but probably will be. If you like using shields, this is probably a great one, because you got this shield passive here, you got this here from a bash, you got this here, increases your shield, all this stuff. So the steed is really great for using shields. Next in the warrior tree is the lady, and it says that it protects you from negative effects. This here reduces the damage you take from damage over time effects, so dots. Elemental defender reduces the damage you take specifically from fire, frost, and shock damage. It's pretty good. Light armor gives you more armor with wearing light armor. There's this light armor focus here. And hardy reduces your poison, disease, and magic damage. So that's pretty cool. If you put, let's say, 5 points in each of these, you basically take 3% less damage from like everything except physical damage from those two things. Now, the first passive is Spell Absorption. It restores a bunch of magicka when you take magic damage equal to 20% of your health. So you get hit with like a really big hit from someone using a magicka spell on you, boom, this is going to give you a bunch of magicka back to you to help kind of offset that, right? Next is Resilience at 30 points. It gives you health when you're hit by a critical attack. It doesn't say there's a cooldown. Some of the stuff does, so I'm thinking maybe there's no cooldown on this. So if you're getting crit a bunch, this could actually give you some health. But obviously, you don't want to get crit all the time. At 75 points, it restores health when you physically crit. Not magically, but if you physically crit, it restores health. And lastly, at 120 points, it reduces the stamina cost of abilities by 80% for 8 seconds after you break free of a stun, knockdown, fear, disorient, or stagger. So if you get CC'd and then you break out of it, all your stamina costs are 80% less for 8 seconds, which is huge. That is an amazing ability there. Next is the Lord, which gives you improves your vitality. Now this gives you quick recovery, increases the healing received. Bastion increases the effectiveness of damage absorption effects. So when you have a bubble on you, makes it better. Heavy armor focus gives you more armor when you're wearing heavy armor. And Nourish increases the effectiveness of healing potions that you use. Now, after you put 10 points in here, Combat Medic is the first passive. It reduces damage received while resurrecting another player. So if you're a healer, this is one of those things, even though it's in the red tree, kind of a tanking thing you would think, boom, this is going to help you out if you're a healer, because you take less damage when you're rezzing someone. So if you're like in a dungeon or PvP or something and you're trying to res someone, take less damage. That's pretty cool. At 30 points, it gives you a bubble after you drink a potion, so that's pretty sweet. Revival at 75 points gives you a 9,000 damage shield over 5 seconds after you're resurrected. So if you're like a tank or a DPS and you die, someone reses you, boom, then you got this huge damage shield, which is great, so it gives them time to heal you up. And lastly is Infusion at 120 points. It increases another player's magical regeneration by a bunch after you resurrect them. So again, if you're a healer, you res somebody, this is going to give them a ton of magicka to help them out. Now, that's it for all the red points. Now, again, like I said, the points that you put in here are going to give you health. So if we take a look, I have 17,968 health on this guy right now. And then let's say I go over here and I put in, let's just put in a bunch of points here. Boom, I got 28 points over here. Boom. All right, super hardy. Now, commit the points. Yes, I want to commit. Now, if we go back, ooh, fancy little effect there. We go back, now I'm at 19,146 points. So basically that gave me like 1,200 health for putting those 28 points into it. The same thing is true for all of them. This is going to give me stamina, and this is going to give me magicka when I put points into this. Now, again, the green ones give you stamina, and they're sort of utility abilities. The tower makes you more efficient with spells and abilities. Let's take a look. First is the Magician, reduces the magicka cost of spells, just flat out. That's pretty good. Tumbling reduces the stamina cost of roll dodging. Bashing Focus reduces the stamina cost of bash attacks, which could go pretty well with that other one we saw in the other tree, which was bashing, right? And then here, Warlord reduces the stamina cost of spells and abilities. Now, after you get 10 points, you're going to get Ensnare. It grants you a 33% chance to reduce an enemy's movement speed by 20% for 3 seconds anytime you hit them with a bash attack. So another bash thing. You bash them, and it's going to snare them. After that is Inspiration Boost, increases inspiration gains by 20%. So here's something for crafters. Even crafters get something. It's not all just fighting stuff. Then Mara's Gift, when killed, heal allies in an 8-meter radius. So if you're like a DPS or the tank or whoever, if you die, boom, this gives like a heal to people. This could be really good in PvP. When you have a group of like 30, 40 people, if a bunch of people have this ability, that could be pretty cool. And lastly is War Mount. This costs 120 points in the tower, but it improves your mastery with mounts, removing all stamina costs outside of combat. So that means if you're not in combat, you can permanently sprint while on your mount. Not only can you permanently sprint, but it doesn't cost you stamina to sprint. So, for example, when you're running on your mount, if you get hit, the chance of you getting knocked off is based on how much stamina you have. So if you're sprinting and you use up all your stamina, you're going to get knocked off like right away. But if you have full stamina, it's really hard to knock you off. This makes it so you can permanently sprint all the time while you're not in combat, and you have max stamina, so then when someone does try to attack you and put you in combat, you're not going to get knocked off right away. This is absolutely amazing. I can see tons of people going for this right away in PvP, because then you can basically sprint forever and never get knocked off your mount. It's pretty amazing. After that is the Lover. It says it gives you stamina and accelerates your regeneration. Mooncalf increases your stamina regeneration. Healthy increases your health regeneration. Arcanist increases your magicka regeneration. And Tenacity increases the amount of magicka and stamina your heavy attacks restore. So remember, if you use a heavy attack, it's going to give you back stamina or magicka based on the type of weapon. This is going to make it so you get even more of that. After you get 10 points, you get the Fortune Seeker. Increases the amount of gold you find in treasure chests. So if you love running around, being sneaky, maybe you're stealthy, this is going to give you even more gold from those treasure chests that you're finding. After that is Synergizer. Grants 2 ultimate anytime you activate a synergy. Now remember, ultimate is a lot harder to get now. In patch 1.6 they changed it, so anything that gets you ultimate is pretty cool, and this is going to make it so when you activate a synergy you get more ultimate. Plus, synergies are more powerful now because of the way they changed the stats. It uses your best stat for the damage on the synergy. So that can be pretty cool. After that is Treasure Hunter. Increases the quality of items you find in treasure chests. So if you like getting treasure chests, you're probably going to want this one. Lastly is Wind Running. Increases your movement speed by a flat 2%. Now, 2% is not very much, but permanent all the time, 2%, passive, not too bad. Lastly is the Shadow, and it helps you elude your enemies. It gives you the Sprinter, which reduces the cost of sprinting, so you can sprint more. Elusive reduces the duration of all snare, fear, and disorient effects. So that reduces CC on you. Snare, fear, and disorient. That's pretty awesome. Nimble reduces damage dealt to you when you roll dodge. And then Shade reduces the stamina cost of moving while in stealth. So you get a bunch of that, and then you can stealth and stay in stealth a lot longer. After you get 10 points, you get Plentiful Harvest. It grants you a 10% chance to double the yield from a normal resource node. So when you're out there and you're collecting, you're mining and stuff, this gives you a chance to get twice as much. Pretty cool for crafters again. This here reduces the cost of armor repairs by 10%. This one here, at 75, reduces gathering time by 50%. So another good thing for crafters. You're probably going to want to go in this tree maybe if you're gathering all the time. And lastly is Shadow Strike. After killing a target with a heavy attack, you automatically enter stealth for 2.5 seconds. So you know how Nightblades, they go in stealth and you can't see them? You automatically get that after you kill someone. Could be pretty cool, especially in PvP. If you're really bursty and you kill people really quick, that could be cool. Or in PvE, when you're running around killing the mobs, sounds pretty sweet. Last but not least is the Mage. Now, the first constellation is the Apprentice, and it says it empowers your spells. So this one gives you magicka, and it's specifically geared towards people who use spells. First is Elemental Expert. It increases your flame, frost, and shock damage. Boom, just do more damage. Then is Blessed, increases the effectiveness of all healing that you do to other people or to yourself, but that you cause. Next is Elfborn, increases your crit damage and healing. So if you crit, this is going to do a bunch more for you. And Spell Erosion increases the amount of spell resistance your spells ignore. So it makes it so your spell goes through their spell resistance. After 10 points, gives you Vengeance, guarantees your next spell will be a critical hit after you block 3 spells. So block 3 spells, and then you're guaranteed a crit with your spell. That's pretty cool, especially for all those people out there who block all the time and then use an insta-cast spell ability. This is going to make it even better. After 30 points, it increases your spell crit rating by 12%. So this is a passive that gives you 12% more spell crit. After only 30 points in this, that's not going to be too hard. After that, 75 points, it reduces the magicka cost of your spells by 80% after you drink a potion. Now this doesn't have a cooldown on it. It doesn't have like a time limit. Remember earlier that other passive that said it lasted 8 seconds for stamina? This one doesn't have that. I imagine it probably has a time limit as well. But 80%, boom, drink a potion, and then basically your spells cost like nothing. That's pretty awesome. And last but not least, for 120 points is Arcane Well. It gives you a 20% chance when you kill an enemy of opening an arcane well, which restores a bunch of magicka to your allies. So if you're able to kill people, if you're like a sorcerer or something and you have Mage's Fury and you're blowing people up either in PvE or PvP, this has a chance of popping up a well that gives magicka to people in the area. So that's pretty cool. Now, next is the Atronach, which increases your skill at arms. First is Heavy Weapon Expert, increases the damage of light and heavy attacks with maces and axes specifically. Then it's Bow Expert, you do more damage with light and heavy attacks with bows. Then Blade Expert, which is swords, daggers, and two-handed swords, you do more damage with light and heavy attacks. And then lastly is Staff Expert, you do more damage with your light and heavy attacks with the Destruction and Restoration Staffs. Now, when you get 10 points, it increases the damage of your next physical attack by 30% after blocking a heavy attack. So you block a heavy attack, and then boom, your counterattack is going to do a bunch of damage. Then is Riposte at 30 points. It returns 26 damage to the attacker when you block a melee attack. Now, that number is based off of your weapon damage. So if you're using a two-hander or one-hander, it's going to change based on how much weapon damage you have. 26 damage doesn't seem like very much, but if you're blocking all the time, you're doing damage back. This could help, especially like with tanking and keeping aggro a little bit, because even while you're blocking, you're still doing a little damage. That's pretty good. Tactician at 75 sets enemies off balance when you successfully roll dodge to avoid their attack. So you dodge somebody, boom, then they're off balance, and then you can heavy attack to knock them down. pretty cool, especially for people who like being, that elusive sort of, dodge around character. That could be really fun. And lastly is the Butcher at 120 points. Your light and heavy weapon attacks deal 5% extra damage to targets below 25%. So if the person you're attacking, the thing you're attacking, is below 0.25% of their life, you flat out, you're doing 5% more damage with light and heavy attacks. That's pretty good. And last but not least is the Ritual. And the Ritual grants you Magicka and makes your attacks more precise. So first is Precise Strikes. It increases the crit damage of your physical attacks. So using weapons, even though this is giving you Magicka, this is helping your physical attacks. Next is Piercing. Increases the amount of armor you physically ignore, so it cuts through their armor. Thaumaturge, I have no idea how pronounce that. It increases your damage with poison, disease, and magic. There's some skills that just say they do magic damage. It doesn't say they do fire or anything like that. It just says magic, so like a lot of Templar abilities, and this increases that damage. And lastly is Mighty. Increases your physical damage just flat out, just across the board. You just put points into that, boom, and you just do more physical damage. So this is 10% more damage with all my points in there. So that's going to be for light and heavy attacks or just weapon attacks, all that sort of stuff, which is pretty cool. After you get 10 points, you get Opportunist. Increases the damage of your next physical attack by 50% after you interrupt a target. So you interrupt somebody, your next physical attack is 50% more. That's a ton of damage. After that is a Perfect Strike at 30 points. It increases your weapon crit by 12%. And then is Exploiter. Increases your damage against off-balance enemies by 10%. And then last but not least, 120 points, Last Stand, grants the Major Heroism when you fall below 20% health. Increases your ultimate gain by 3 every second and a half. And it can only occur every 30 seconds. So here, if you drop down at low life, this is going to start to give you a ton of ultimate, which is really great because usually then you can use your ultimate ability to save your life. So that's it. That's all the abilities. We talked about how you get points and how they work. And this is everything in game. If you have any questions, please put them down below. In general, I think the system is really awesome. It's super long-term progression. As you can see, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of points that you can continue to get. You can use any character you want to help progress this system. You can get it through dungeons or PvE or PvP, so it doesn't matter what you're doing. And there's so many options for so many different builds. I think it's really, really super awesome. A ton of fun. I can't wait to see the sort of builds and ideas that we come up with. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. Thank you so much. I'll see you out there.